You are now entering the Thick Goddess Energy Morning Show. We in the building. High priestess in the building, didn't let my fears kill me. Transmuted my pain in that cleanse in the rain. Found out I was working and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became.
Just combed my hair and now I have this huge knot.
Yeah, that's that long hair shit. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oracle's combing her hair and we're getting started this morning. As the notifications go out, this is your Thick Goddess Energy morning show. I am your host, Divine Moon Goddess, and my co-host, who's down there, Oracle Empress. And this morning show is brought to you by Divine Moon Goddess Healers and Readings.com,
.com.
where your questions get answered. And we're going to get into some craziness this morning. We're going to talk about it. You guys know we have to bring some just, and I won't say crazy, it's just the times, right? So we have to bring some controversial stuff to the table and talk about it. Yes, I have an opinion. That's why I have a fucking morning show. Hey, Shondell, good morning. This is a live show for anyone. Let me put the live banner on so people know. So you guys know you're not talking to yourself.
Whew.
Live show, live show. All right. Boom. See, we're live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. So this morning we are going to talk about polyamory. Where for me, I do feel like it is become a fad of today. And we're going to talk about it because it looks like it's getting more and more out there of the younger generations are coming up and everyone's polyamorous. If there is anyone who is polyamorous or they identify with that and want to jump on and talk to us, definitely let me know so we can have a conversation. Okay? But one of the things I wanted to bring up is some of the arguments. I happened to catch a show of Pickett Smith, her Red Table, and her daughter actually was talking about how she is in polyamory and some of the points. And I didn't get to watch it all, so I didn't get to go there. But I will tell you some of the points that she was making were this is how young people see relationships. And we have to remember the reason why this is becoming big is because of how the younger generations are looking at it. I will tell you, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to be married for a long time. I was just like, fuck marriage. I was like, I could without marriage, but that's because of what I saw growing up. And then the people around me who did get married, it was a joke. So for me, I just was like, no, fuck that. If that's what marriage is, I don't want it. And so I think with younger generations, like this is where we're headed because you don't see beautiful relationships. You see a lot of craziness. You see a lot of cheating and
There's
your
our word.
your person. You know, we were just talking about that, Becky, about the pansexual, because for me, bisexual and pansexual are the same shit. We just looked at the definition, except some people will argue that it's not. I want to know the difference. Somebody tell me what the difference is, because for me, pansexual says that you like everyone basically, and bisexual says that you like everyone. And for me, it's like there's only two genders. Look, we could sit here and argue all day long about the genders, you guys, but when it comes down to the human race and biologically, there's the penis and the vagina, okay? That it is what it is. Now I'm not talking about your spirit because we know the spirit is different. We know what our energy is different, and we know that we carry both masculine and feminine energy, and you can resonate with either of those, and that's not what we're talking about. But when it comes to body parts, we all kind of have to sit and agree. And I know a lot of people do not agree about this, but the parts are, you're either going to have that vagina or that penis, and some people have both. We know that, right? The hermaphrodite makes the pansexual. Now that makes sense if that's it, but that's not what the definition says.
We're gonna do a show on it. We'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll do a show on that, and we'll talk about it more, because one of the things is, I think, terms that we see that just start going out there, right? We see in these terms going out there. I think we need to talk about it. One of the things I saw I think her name is Willow, and she was saying
Yeah.
that um a lot of the reasons the younger generations are doing a polyamory kind of relationships is so that if they're missing something in their relationship, that they can find someone else to give it to them, which then cuts the chances of cheating. I want to talk about that point real quick.
I
Let's
don't
talk
think a
about
lot of
that.
people are doing. Well, not everybody, but that's the gist that I've gotten recently from what I've seen on social media.
Mm,
With a lot of people jumping into this for different reasons, not religious reasons, I guess, because
right,
for me, polygamy, because I watch Sister Wives, that's my shit, right? So
right,
it's always been like these white people in Utah who go to the Mormon church. That was the only people who did it. Everybody else, like back in the day, if you would have said you had more than one wife or more than one husband,
right.
we like to think,
Besides being a Mormon or a Muslim,
right.
everyone knew that that was okay. You just knew. But anybody else, it's like, wait, what? If you're
But
not a Mormon or a Muslim, why you got a couple wives?
the younger generation that I see, when people ask questions about it, they do justify it a lot with, well, if my husband has a girlfriend, she's our girlfriend.
Right, 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 right,
Or if they do something sexually, we do it together. Or
right, right,
things, or even too, I've gotten the thing where like three incomes are better than two incomes,
right,
which
right, right.
but I feel like for some reason there is that part of taking the cheating for either
Right.
or both out of it by saying, by kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say justifying because I don't want to piss anybody off, but it's kind of
Mhm.
justifying the cheating and allowing it to be, to me it's a freaking open relationship.
Right. What's the difference between that and having an open relationship? Because primarily the definition says that it's a consensual non-monogamy relationship, having multiple intimate relationships. So there's two primary, right? And then they get to go off and date other people. And a lot of what I've seen, just kind of looking it up, is the justification is, well, if my partner is missing something, I get to date someone who gives it to me. And I will tell you, on the stats, there's a 60% divorce rate, and the average rate of a polyamory relationship lasting is 8 years. Okay, on some
Oh,
stats that I looked at. So one of the things I will say is, I think, and
do
I
you,
don't care what
sorry
you guys
to cut
do,
you off,
you
but do you
guys
know if that's higher than um, a couple being married?
like
Let's say it's for I don't want to say normal, please don't.
yeah,
For a,
normal, a monogamous
yes,
marriage.
for a relation marriage between just two
Marriage, let's see, marriage rate. And I know marriage rates right now are probably um
in the shitter. Like,
crazy right now.
the pandemic has made everybody hate each other.
Well, the thing about it is, what I said, a lot of people don't realize that the pandemic, all it did was show you the life in the world that you created.
Hmm.
So if your life and world was not happy, and your life and world was built on some bullshit, then you had to sit at home and look at your life and say, damn, this is the person I married. This is the person I created a life with, and I'm fucking unhappy. And what are you going to do about it? I feel like that's what the pandemic did.
She's,
Who's Facebook user?
I don't know. Khadijah said a table is stronger with three legs than two. So I can get it. I can understand it. I don't want to say I can respect it, but I can get it a little more if it's a thing where you're choosing to have either another husband or another wife, and that's kind of it, and you don't kind of free flow with whatever you want to, and have all these sexual encounters with whoever you want to, and things like that. If it's a serious kind of thing where it's like me and you and a husband, and we work and we live in the same house, and we have
Right.
a bank account, we take care of the kid, like that thing. It's just, to me, when
Right.
people are doing it and they're just freely having sexual relationships with other people, to me that's just there's a difference between the poly and an open relationship. And I
Right.
feel
Right.
like everybody is naming it poly because that's the
Right.
cool thing to do right now, is name it poly, right?
Right. Right.
When it's technically y'all are just kind of like free flowing
For
until you
me,
get
y'all
married.
dating. I mean, to me, y'all dating. You basically really like this person, but you're not sure about this person. So I'm gonna date other people while we're dating. That's fucking dating. That's the truth. Like for me, that's what dating is supposed to be. Like, even like as a single woman, I know that you can date people, but not necessarily want them to be your person. Yeah, I like you, but I don't like you that much. So we're just gonna date.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna keep it open to where I can date other people. I feel like we've taken these terms and we've created these other terms to justify. I think we do justify it. Again, I'm not judging any of you guys. I think you should do what makes you feel happy. Um, but I will say one of the biggest things I think, far as when we're going to these labels of polyamory, right? And we're looking at it, and I do feel like we're kind of going past what the situation I think is, because
Mhm.
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, all right, I like this person, man, they have most of the qualities I want, but they're not perfect. So let me go date, this person over here who has that one quality that's missing. But again, we know when we're looking for shit that's missing within someone else, it's missing within us. So I think
Mhm.
we're missing a bigger part that's going on in these people's lives of what is truly missing. So one of the facts that Willow brought up was the infidelity. Most marriages end because of infidelity. And the grandmother made a good point about how people don't have conversations before they get married, before we just jump
Mhm.
into this long-term relationship, which is true. A lot of people don't have these conversations. What do you like sexually? What are these things, these breakers, these make or break kind of thing? Because in the beginning, everyone is trying to please the other or be nice and sweet and charismatic, right? But we
Mhm.
don't sit and have these very clear and important conversations for longevity. What is going to get us that 10, 20 years? What is going to get us to stay in this happy relationship? Um, Without saying, okay, well, if you don't have it, it's okay. You could go find it somewhere else. I can't give you that unless you're
Mhm.
just really happy. But on most of the articles that I read, at the end of the day, somebody always gets jealous. Somebody always gets hurt. Somebody
Mhm.
gets more days than the other. We see it in the polygamy relationships. You've watched it on Sister Wives. Somebody
Mhm.
gets jealous, somebody gets hurt, somebody gets left out. And I feel like when you're looking at a monogamy relationship, it requires you to step up in a way, because it is just you and this person having to have these conversations, deal with each other on that level, and work towards being happy together.
Mhm.
Where I think these other ones, which are fine if you choose to do so, but I feel like these other ones allow you just to have your excuses of why you can't do this, or why you need to go screw other people, or why at the end of the day you're not happy with this person. And I personally, I mean, I feel like if you're not happy with me, why the fuck be with me? Like that's how I feel about that. um
I
why
think Khadijah should be on here with us because I'm
who
Khadijah. She said she's open to it, but
you
I would
should
I would like to know. I don't want to say why, but um, is it more for the sexual end of it, or would it be more for the um, financial stability and home stability in that way?
Heather, why did you say not to say any sexual preference definition on Facebook?
We didn't use Facebook for the definition, so um, definitely didn't use Facebook for that definition. I don't think I
Um,
was there.
so when we looked up the definitions, and those are like the, it's like the Google definitions. There's not a big difference. It's the wording that's the
Mhm.
difference in the pansexual or bisexual definition that we looked up. So bisexual uses a more sexual nature, where pansexual, it doesn't really say that, even though it says pansexual. So for me, there's no difference in that. It's the same. You like both male and female genders. Just one says you can
Yeah, I
like
think
other.
bisexual said gender,
It
and
says
then
it says
pansexual
male or
said
female.
you
Yeah,
would be
if you like anybody.
non-gender
Right.
conformatory,
But
whatever it's
like I
called.
said in the beginning, I know some people don't identify with their gender, but for biologic, or am I probably saying it wrong? We know that you're gonna have either or,
Bi-
right?
biology purpose. I don't know, because I was gonna say
Biological purposes.
biological. There we go.
And then there's a few people who have both, right? So we do know that, but and that's a whole nother conversation that we won't touch today. Um, you have a trans tarot reader that may be able to clarify a bit of this. Okay. So, oh, you're at a shop. Yeah. So Pan doesn't identify with male or female. They just love people. That's the thing. But
Yeah,
for me, I feel like bisexual does the same thing. And I'm going to tell you that, like, and I don't talk about, we were just talking about this. I don't talk a lot about my sexual orientation because I don't feel it's necessary. But I've been someone who loves both, pretty much my whole fucking life. So, but I don't see that as being pansexual. I just,
yeah.
people are people. You can fall in love with people's essence and their spirit.
I wonder if they consider it, which we'll have to do because I guess we're off topic again. But I wonder if they consider it pansexual because they put in the trans in there.
Maybe, maybe
I wonder. Oh,
that would make sense because bisexual is just liking male and female, right? And I guess if you have transgender or you have a hermaphrodite, and I'm
yeah.
probably saying it wrong, maybe that's where the pansexual comes in. And I'm pretty sure there are some meanings behind this we're trying to understand.
Shondell, we know that. We're just like saying for like
Like what they
identification purposes, like you get your
right,
ID, you go to jail, you
right,
use a bathroom, things like that,
right,
which I guess they're coming out with all kinds of different new bathrooms now. But,
right,
just like birth certificate, stuff like that, there's always an
right.
actual gender checked. So we're
I
just
do I
saying it
mean,
like that.
we're gonna do a whole show on that because I do feel like I feel like you can be in your body, right? And not feel like this is your body. I completely fucking get that. But the reality of it is you're still in this body. You're still in this container, right? Her husband said, hell no.
Your
You know,
husband says no. See, that's surprising. That's
no,
surprising.
that's not surprising because if you look at it in the study of polyamorous relationships, there are more women that are open to it than men. Okay. Now, if you look at a man, men are kind of territorial. If you look at how a masculine energy is, they're kind of territorial about their relationships, their lives, their home, their kids, right? And I can tell you that I have dealt with couples, okay, before. So just putting a little bit of my business out there, right?
I
I
think
met I met a couple that the woman, she was the one who kept wanting to do the open relationship even though they've been together for years. And he didn't want to do it. He was against it. He just kept saying no, no. And she just kept telling him that there was something missing. Not that she didn't love him. This came out of her mouth. So some of the stuff that people say, it makes sense. I've heard it where, she was saying that she's just missing that piece, although I don't think she's ever found it with anyone she's been with besides him. So
I
I
wonder.
think I think that it's pretty crazy. You would think that the man would be like, "Oh yeah, let's do this," and then it's like, "Nah, nah." The man's like, "Yeah, no." All right, Heather. You know what? And it's
Yeah.
not, I don't think it's going to clear it up. I just think that everyone has their terms, and I think people throw it around. And I think, I think this is why we would have those conversations so that we can get more, like, not to just bring attention to the subject, but we will do a show on pansexual so that we can really understand it better and go into it, because I do feel people don't use it right, and I do feel people just like me, I don't know shit about it. I'm not going to act like I do. I had to Google some shit to look up and see what it was, right? I'm just kind of reading. Leticia, you say you're pansexual, but you only label it as pan because you don't really care what you have going on, whether you're trans, female, male. As long as you have a beautiful soul, we're good. But I cannot do poly. I like to pour my time and energy into one person. Gotcha. Okay. You don't want to confuse your babies, Khadijah. Okay. Becky, you have masculine energy. And I will tell you, I'm a very masculine female, which we refer to as the alpha female, right? And so in my life, that has been confused where people will take that as I'm gay. Like I have to be gay. A lot of people will just think I'm gay because of my masculine presence. And I'm like, no, I'm just very fucking aggressive. Like that's just me. But I have been just automatically, people assume, and not just because I got the short haircut now, but people would just assume because of my presence that I have to be gay. And it's just like, yeah, no, I'm just very fucking, that person. So just because you have masculine energy doesn't make you gay, and it doesn't make you a man. It just that
Mhm.
you're more to your masculine energy. And you have to learn that. You have to realize that you have the choice. We have both feminine and masculine energy, right? Good morning, Tiffany.
I think that's
Um,
the hard part, Khadijah. When you have kids, I feel like if you are going to do the poly thing, those are one of the things. Like if I chose to do it, which I never would, but if I chose to do it because of my kids, I think I would have to be very serious about having that monogamous relationship between the three
right,
of us,
right,
because I wouldn't want to, just like I wouldn't want to bring a whole bunch of different people. I just wouldn't want to bring a whole bunch of different people around my kids
right,
and make it seem like, well, mom had a boyfriend and a girlfriend, but now the girlfriend's gone and there's a new girlfriend and dad's still
right.
here, but then that one's gone. And then, so I get that,
Stability.
because I don't think it would confuse your children if you did it like stably. Like, this is what our family looks like. This is what,
Right,
we do. And that's why I say, I think people who do poly and they do it seriously, where they have those roles in the household, and
right,
you
right,
know we're doing everything together, and it's not just for fun, or
right,
we have this girlfriend for a little bit and then we just didn't like her no more, and then the next one
right,
came, or we're
right,
having one night stands and things like that. That's different. Those are um
right.
what is it? I don't want to say swinger, but those are just like random
Basically,
threesomes or whatever you want to call it.
basically,
Yes,
you're
you're
swingers.
poly. Just because you're having random threesomes does not mean you're in a poly relationship. It would be
Right,
the
right,
same. A poly for me would have to be the same as my monogamous relationship. Like, we are just monogamous to
right,
each other.
right,
Um, I do like when I look at sister wives, man, they're crazy. But they have this thing where it is normal to their kids, and they all kind of do their own thing. And at least from TV, they don't look like they
Yeah.
But there are also ones too where the wives are not each other's wives. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they have their own separate relationships. They live in their own separate households. So
Right.
it's not like, well, I guess they used
Right.
to live in one house, but they still, it wasn't like, for them, it wasn't like one wife was married to the other. They were just helpers, I guess. They
I
didn't have
still
that.
think it's hard I still think it's hard because you got to remember, even you trying to be with one person is a lot of work. Allowing this person to be able to talk to you, for you to, in a relationship, we're talking about a relationship, not just dating, because I feel like it's dating, yeah, they just dating, but they're keeping themselves open relationship. But in a relationship, we know there's a lot of compromise. There's a lot of compromise. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of working things through. So if you don't even really know your partner to do that, and then there's this third person or fourth person in the mix, I think that gets a little bit difficult. How do you really show up for that person in
Mhm.
those ways, or even show up for yourself? Because some of it I feel like can be a little bit of selfishness. I want my cake and eat it too. So let's stay with
Mhm.
this open relationship. I feel like people need to go a little bit deeper. Again, most of the arguments in polyamory, and we're not talking about the rest of them, we're talking about polyamory today. So in polyamory, most of the arguments are, well, if you love someone and let's say their sexual desires are different from you, you're allowing them to go and do that elsewhere. My problem with that is, why not find someone who has the same sexual desires as you? Why not find someone who wants to do the same things you do?
Mhm.
It's like finding someone, they're cool, and you're a traveler and the other one is a homebody, but you're going to push for this relationship to work, yet you know this person is not going to want to go with you anywhere. It does not make sense to me at the end of the day, because I would want someone who likes the things that I like, that we get along in that respect, and that we can satisfy each other sexually. Why I don't get the concept of being with someone that you know is not going to satisfy you, only to invite a third or a fourth person in to kind of substitute substitute the energy, right? Yeah. And and I'm not saying that any of this is bad. For those of you who want to have these lifestyles, it is a lifestyle, and it is something that you will need to talk to your children about. And I do feel like you should think about it, because even as Oracle's saying, even like myself, when I was a single mom for 20 plus years, I did not have different men coming into my house. My daughter can, she can contest to that, because I just didn't want that. I just didn't want her to get comfortable with someone and then it fail, and all of that good stuff, right? So I personally feel like you do have to be serious. You do have to think about it before bringing someone into your household, bringing someone around your kids. There's a lot of factors I think that goes into that. It sounds great, it sounds fun, but I think there's so much more to it. And then I do feel like someone will always feel left out. Somebody's going to feel like second best. Somebody is going to feel like they're not getting enough attention. I don't think that it can last long. And not saying that, monogamy marriage lasts, because we all know that that has a high divorce rate. I think it's at 50% right now. The divorce rate is pretty fucking high. But I do feel like you got to just kind of take it. What are your intentions behind choosing to be polyamorous? And if your intentions are just because you haven't figured yourself out, then great. Keep trying to figure yourself out until you get there. But if your intentions are because, and we do know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people's intentions are to have their cake and eat it too, you know,
So
I
there is
think
a
that's where it
difference
starts.
between polygamy and polyamory.
Oh yeah, there's a big difference.
I did
Big
not
difference.
know that polyamory says one practices or has the desire for an intimate relationship with multiple partners. All of
Yeah.
the partners involved in have different relationships have to give consent. All of the partners involved in the different relationships have to give consent to be in such a relationship. People that practice polyamory describe it as responsible, ethical, and consensual. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a huge difference because polygamy is like this the main like either the because there are some women who are doing polygamous relationships now. We'll have to do a show just on that one. And polyamory is that there's at least the two main ones, but they get to date out. They get to date with other people, and everybody knows. I
Well,
just don't know how you
polyamory
would be able to
sounds like
keep up with
open
that.
relationship to me.
To me, it sounds like an open relationship or dating. That's what you would do in dating. You would have someone you really like, but you guys are not there yet, and you're still keeping your options open. That's what that sounds like. I want to touch Letitia. Leticia, you said you know a few people who have turned to poly to save their relationship. Do you believe it's a healthy last resort or a form of holding on? And this is where I will go back to conversation with your partner. A lot of people get into relationships, and I've talked to a lot of people. Again, I've dealt with some couples. A lot of people get bored after years. They start to get bored. They've done it all with each other. They've seen it all. They've done the chandeliers. They're kind of at a point where it's like, what's next? And so instead of maybe saying maybe we're not for each other or maybe we need to try this, I think that's when we say okay, let's try this third person, or let's do something crazy. I would tell you my parents were swingers. They were crazy. They were swingers. They would have these parties and they would do some crazy shit. And when my mom would tell me some stories, I'd be like, what the fuck? But that's what they did. My mom, I can tell you, my mom was not happy with most of it. She did it because she felt that's what a wife does for her husband. Okay. And my mom is from the 50s. She was born and raised in the 50s. So this polyamory and all this shit wasn't a thing, but we know swingers has been a thing forever, right? We know that's been a thing.
Mhm.
I do feel like I do feel like some people think because sex is lacking, well, let's add someone else in to spice it up, right? Let's spice it up. And if I show that I'm this open person, okay, and I'm giving my person, they won't leave me because most people are afraid of being alone. Okay. That is like the top thing. I think before you walk into that situation, you need to ask yourself, are you truly okay with what is about to happen, bringing someone else into your relationship? Because I don't feel like in every instance that everything's okay and everything just goes as planned. You
Mhm.
never know. You could be bringing your person's next wife into your life, because they could just click and get along and then boom. I think that I've seen a lot of couples do not poly, but kind of just have fun. And then, it does kind of save it and they go on about their business and they're happy. But I think those are conversations that you guys have to have as a couple. And I do feel like you have to be very confident as a woman or a man to bring a third person into your relationship. And then know that there's a chance that it could fuck it up. Like, you gotta go in with that, like, this could potentially fuck it up worse than what it is.
Yeah, that would be me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Becky, your person was gay until you came along? Okay. And, the thing is, I do believe you can love anyone. I'm not the type of person that says, "Oh, you need to love a man because that's what God said." I'm not that type of person. I think you can fall in love with anyone. But today we're talking about polyamory, which is basically dating someone, being in a relationship, but also being open to being other relationships with other people. Me personally, I'm a very jealous person. I want that attention. I don't want to share. Like, I'm gonna just be honest. I don't
Well,
want to fucking share.
you know my ass. I fucking watch Dr. Phil all the time, right? There was an episode on not too long ago, and it was a man and two women. Um,
Right.
and this is the part that caught me, just because I couldn't do it, but then I thought about it after he said it. He was talking, and he had one girlfriend for 5, 6 years, something like that. And then they
Right.
had gotten another girlfriend, and she had been there maybe 1 or 2 years. She was kind of new. But the new girlfriend, he called her the queen. And the one that had been there the longest was the princess. And it was actually the women's families that had brought them on the show.
Right.
And they were just concerned for them because they had been living in a hotel and just all kinds of craziness. So
Right.
um, they had asked him, like, how is it that she's the queen and that's the princess? Like, what are you doing here? And his thing was, well, she hasn't learned how to obey yet. And I was like, oh shit. Like, can you imagine being the one that's like the OG that's like been there and you're giving my spot to this new
Right.
person?
Right.
And I was floored. Like,
Psychologically,
that's what I was thinking. Like, I wonder if in some of these relationships, if that goes through these people's heads, women or men, does it
right.
go through their head on feeling like they're not being ranked or they are being ranked and worried about where, like, so you
Right.
bring a new person in, and when you have a new love, it's butterflies, right? It's just all
Right.
honeymoon and
Right.
butterflies and shits and giggles.
Right.
And the longer you've been there, you get down to the nitty gritty. Things get hard. Things aren't as beautiful as
Right.
they were when you first met and you were first dating. So for me, that was like when I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, I wonder how many women, men in these kind of relationships go through
Right.
that in the back of their head all the time.
Right. I think a lot of it is to please the person that they're with, and they're not truly on board with it, but they think it's going to save the relationship, because we all know most people have a hard time with letting go of relationships, period, right? We have a hard time of letting go and just walking away when we know we need to walk away. So I think a lot of people do things to try to save it. And I do agree that I this is the one thing I always tell people is you need to have these conversations, especially when it comes to the sex and what you're comfortable with and what you're secure about. Because the biggest thing is people do shit when they know they're not secure enough,
Mhm.
and it fucks it up at the end of the day. Because then you're always thinking, but you liked it, didn't you? And it's like, well, yeah, we had fun. Right. um so I think people just, this is my biggest thing, polyamory. I'm going to tell you, I feel people, it's a cop out. It's a cop out for a lot of people. And I think people are negating the fact that you're missing something within you, but you're taking it as, oh, this person doesn't have everything, as if we're perfect. Nobody's fucking perfect. Nobody. And this is the biggest problem, even in my profession, dealing with people in relationship shit. People come to me for relationship questions, relationship advice all the time. One of the biggest things is the perception of what the relationship should be. Everybody
Mhm.
wants this perfect fucking partner, but nobody wants to accept someone for who they are. I think this is where we're not addressing those issues. This is where we're not sitting back and saying, this person has showed you who they were from the beginning, yet you're still trying to make them and mold them into this perfect human that you want. And you're not even perfect.
Mhm.
So I think that's what we need to talk about, is that part, is that not that, oh, it's not a bad thing and you could do what you guys want, but I don't think that's sustaining to be in an open relationship. I personally would never feel, me personally, I would want to feel special. I would not want to be like, oh, you're going to come see me on Tuesday, but I know you're with Susie on fucking Wednesday.
I
My
wonder,
mind could not handle that. As a woman, I would be like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
did Willow touch on any of her choosing to be poly due to the way she? I mean, we've all seen what was going on with Will. Well, I don't know if you have because you don't watch TV, but Will and Jada's relationship lately,
Well,
and just in general. So I
I
wonder.
didn't, I didn't get to watch it all, but some of the points she said was that it one of the things she said was allowing someone to be open, and she used the quote of, not quote, but she used the point of, if you can't get something from this person, that you're allowing them to go seek it elsewhere. And that's my argument of you're not dealing with within you, because now you feel like you're not getting something which this person can't give you. We all know this person cannot 100% satisfy you. I don't give a fuck if they were the perfect person or the perfect human, right? So you're gonna say, all right, you can't give me what I want. Now I'm going to go keep dating until I find it. You will never fucking find it. That's how I feel. You will
Mhm.
never find what you're looking for, because I feel like what you're truly looking for is within you, but you haven't figured that part out yet. So she was using those points and saying, well, most divorces end in infidelity. And again, I will argue the reason why divorce ends in that is because most people are running to the aisle without having these conversations. We're not having these deep conversations about child upbringing, raising children, the sexual nature of our relationship. What are your deepest desires? What are some shit that you know at the end of the day is going to be a make or breaker? You know, people don't have these conversations. And so I feel like instead of us looking at those issues, we're just going to be like, well, if you can't give it to me, I'll just date other people. Then
Mhm.
just be single.
Yeah.
Why do you need a relationship if you don't fucking know what you want? Like that, I don't know. That's kind of my what I feel about that.
Melanie donated.
All right, Melanie, we will get you at the end of this. And I saw the one scammer. I blocked them. I think we're just running around some big, huge facts of you got to look within, and we're always looking outside of ourselves for to feel whole.
Well,
Um,
things are
so,
different. Like when I don't know, because my mom is married, but the generation before, like my grandparents, right? Most of our grandparents were married and kind of stayed in those relationships till the day they died or
mhm,
whatever. They put in a lot of work. And it seems like this
right,
generation, even our generation, the more we continue these generations, it seems like I don't want to say we get lazier, but we do get lazier. We
yeah,
always are looking for the easier way out of things. It's like
right,
work less, play more, right? It's like do the least amount of work you can and
right,
eat the fruits off. Everyone wants to get rich really fast, but they don't want to do the work to do it. So it's kind of the
exactly,
same with relationships. It's like people are not doing the work that our grandparents did. And
right,
even like my mom's generation, I feel like a lot of them have chosen to stay married until their kids go to college and then they end up getting divorced. And it's
right,
like they just
right,
kind of stayed together until the kids grew up and got out of the house and then they decided
right,
that they were no longer happy with each other. And then my generation is to the point where I feel like nobody really wants to do the hard work.
right, right,
Nobody wants to do that. And I feel like that's where this poly is coming in with the next generation, like my daughter and them, is like nobody is like, why? Why not have
right.
my kid need it too?
If I can, why not? Right? It's better that way. And that's why I don't think it's sustainable. Not to say that marriage is the answer, because honestly, marriage for me, I don't care if I ever get married. It's not like a priority. Like it would it be nice to have that because we've always had this dream of getting married, and I've always, had this fairy
Yeah,
tale in my head, but I don't have to get married. That's not something that I have to do in this lifetime. And I think you got to understand where you're at on that. If you're living by the shifts of the old school paradigm where you have to be married, but I do feel like when it comes to relationships, I would not want to be in an open relationship with anyone where
I
we're
want.
just dating multiple people, because for me that I could just be alone if I want to do that. I can just be single and date multiple people if I want to do that.
I've always wanted to be married. I freaking watched Say Yes to the Dress and plan my whole little thing. But the thing is I see so many people now that don't take it seriously.
Right, right,
They
right,
do it for, which I guess, because back in the day, used to do it for financial reasons, but
right.
they do it for reasons, for selfish reasons, or they feel
Mhm.
like they have to keep somebody, or they do it when they get into
Right,
shitty ass arguments and then the person is proposing because they don't want to lose you, or
Right.
nobody
Right.
takes it serious because everyone that I know that has gotten married um, still gets habitually cheated on.
Right. And marriage doesn't make someone fucking be loyal to you. Marriage, the certificate doesn't make someone, not cheat on you. And I've had these conversations with many clients. And I'm like, you're rushing to the aisle. That is not going to change
Yeah.
if this person cheats on you. It doesn't make it official because now you have a ring on your finger. Like that doesn't change
Or yeah,
it.
or they take the ring because it's I'm better than you. I got the ring.
Right. But
And
no,
for me,
you
I
can't
don't
live
want
this facade, right?
to get married, but it's hard because nobody takes it serious.
And see,
And I
divergence,
take it
that's what it
super
is.
serious.
Right there. It does take work in a marriage. It takes work in a
Mhm.
long-term relationship. It takes work in a monogamous relationship. And that's what people are getting lazy. And I do agree, people are getting lazy. People do not want to compromise. People do not want, because people think compromise is never having your way. People think compromise is, well, everything has to be the other person's way. Well, no, there's two people. Compromise is working together, right? But a relationship does require you to put somebody else's feelings before your own. It can't always be what you want in a relationship. And I think people have gotten lazy with that. Nobody wants to try. It's just like, well, fuck it. I can go date other people. I can go find my happiness. But are you truly happy doing that though? That's my question. I would love if anyone watches this and you're polyamory and you're happy and you're thriving, definitely reach out to me and we can have a part two so that we can see, because
Mhm.
I would like to see anyone who's truly happy, not fake ass happy or pretending to be happy, but truly happy in your polyamory relationship where you're fulfilled. Because I don't think you can really get there. I think you're still searching, and I think you're still trying to find something that I don't think you'll find in your partner anyway. And most of the things I feel like we got to do, even whatever relationship you want to be in, is that you need to have a life outside of your person. Your
Mhm.
person can consume your life. That you'll never be sustaining, you'll never be happy if your person is your whole entire world and your whole entire world revolves around them. You will always be searching for, it's that codependency, I think.
Mhm.
I love the fact of marriage. I'm a hopeless romantic. I've dreamt about my marriage hundreds of times. I just don't have to get married in this life, and I don't have to get the certificate, right? So if me and someone decided to have like a little ceremony, I don't care about the paperwork behind it because I feel like that's a contract. That's my point about like marriage is there's this contract. Now you're binded together through legally, and most people do that for those reasons. So for me personally in this life, I don't have to get married. If I never get married, it won't make or break my life. It won't make or break my spirit. I won't feel less than because
Yeah.
I'm not married. Where a lot of people have made a lot of people feel like shit because they don't have a person or they're single or you're not married. So now you're this lower, if you're not the woman with the ring, you're lower somehow.
I
It's
would
just,
definitely do it. I just need to, I can't say no because nobody can know for sure, right? But I would have to be very confident that this is a person who actually wants to be with me, who's actually willing to put in the work, and
right,
that I don't have these um, issues of cheating or third parties every
right,
month, every couple of months,
right. Every few years.
right, every few years, anything like that, where I feel pretty confident like this is a very serious relationship. I would never get married to somebody to where I was worrying about third parties, you
Right,
know,
right,
constantly or at all. But you
right,
know what I
right,
mean? Like, I mean, I'm sure relationships can happen where people have had affairs or something. But if I knew it was a dedicated and it wasn't something that I was consistently worried about, or that you know how you have some of those people who have been in relationships for 10 years and they're like, oh my God, he finally stopped cheating kind of thing. It's like, no, I would never, because once you do get married, right, you have all those legal ties. So if we're going to continue to have the same problems that we had in our relationship, in our marriage, and then we decide like it's not going to work, I don't want to be here, then we got
right.
to fucking hell and back to get divorced.
Right. And I
We
think
get
that's more
property
I think
and
that's more what people are running from. It's that part. It's the part
mhm,
of especially men. And this is why men are more slower to get married because they lose a lot more in a marriage than most women do. Okay. We all know that most women come out really good in a divorce, right? And so it's okay to take your time to get married. There's no rush. And I hear a lot of people, well, we've been together 5 years and we're not married yet. So what? There's no time frame of when you need to get married. You know what I mean? There's no, but a lot of you have a lot of these also, we know we have a lot of these relationship experts that tell you if you're not married by so and so, he doesn't really want you, blah, 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 blah. And it starts getting women thinking, oh, he must not want me. We're not married. He must not care for me, or she must, he or she, whoever you date. I think we have to stop comparing our relationships with other people. And I think we should just enjoy each other. I think that's what people should do instead of putting the pressures of some of this shit on a relationship. And then we could just flourish and be. And then
mhm.
where do we want to take this relationship? Not where society says we should go, not where our family says we should go, but where we as a couple feel. And I think a lot of people bring in the family, the friends, and everybody else's opinion in society. And that's what fucks it up. I do feel like, hey Ariana, I do feel like what even me looking at the generations, like I said, my mom did a lot of shit with my dad just because she knew that, there were certain things about my dad she knew that she just could not give him, and so to give him that or to assist him, she participated in a lot of crazy shit with him, which that's not something I would do. It's not something I'm willing to do.
Mhm.
As a woman, I'm not willing to do some of the shit that my mom did for her partner. I personally want a partner that is on my level. We are both on the same level. We want the same shit. Otherwise, I could stay single. That's how I feel about it. Sasha,
Lily,
get with me about that, about the couple, because if they're open, I would love to bring them on and have a conversation. Because I do feel like we to understand it a little bit more, and then maybe it'll give insight to someone who is thinking about it, thinking about it, will it work? I really feel like it's up to you at the end of the day, or the reasons why you're doing it, basically.
Lily, what do you mean a limit? Do you mean like a time limit to where you cut it off, where you say if I'm not married by in this relationship within this many years, cut it off? Is that what you're saying?
See, that's the thing that's and Lily, I will tell you that is one of the biggest things in my one-on-one sessions is because someone is like, I've been with my person this amount of years and they haven't proposed yet, but they were in a whole relationship. We got kids, this, that, and the third. But because they don't have the ring, they don't have the certificate, they don't have that wedding, somehow they feel less than as a woman. Why hasn't my person married me? And I want to tell you, fuck that bullshit. That doesn't make you less than a woman because your person hasn't proposed to you.
See,
Okay.
I think if you're in the relationship and you've had these talks, right, with your partner,
Hmm.
and you know that your partner's end game is that they want to be married, that's their goal. They do want to end up being married.
Right.
Um, I feel like as long as you have these talks, and maybe there's some people who wait to finish college. There's some people who wait to be financially stable.
Right.
There's some
Right.
people who wait until they're in their 30s instead of their 20s to do it
Right.
because you change, right? You change so much from 21 to 35, right? You're not the same person.
Right.
So if you know that you went into this relationship and you were both on that same level of knowing that you wanted to get married, and you're at the age 30 plus, 40 plus, and you've been
Right.
here for 10 years, 15 years, and it's just never happening. And there's not really a reason to why, they say, well, I do want to be married, just, maybe next year or the year, just let me do it on my time. And you're never having these conversations of what is blocking you from that. Then at that point, I do say, if that's what you want, is your ultimate goal is to
Right.
be married, then maybe
Right.
you should think about leaving. But I
Right.
don't think you should just be like, well, we've been together this long. If you didn't have that conversation when you came in to the relationship, that person might not even want to be married. That
Right.
person might feel like they don't need that certificate. So maybe
Right.
you were on two different levels in the first place.
Exactly.
You know?
Conversation.
Right.
Conversation, y'all. Simple conversation between two adults to understand what the other person wants and what you want. But I can guarantee you, more than I would say 75% of the relationship readings sessions that I do is because women need to prove that they have the man through a
Mhm.
certificate and a fucking ring. And I will tell you that that is your ego, your ego, your ego, to prove that somehow you've made it in this life and somehow you're above the rest with this fucking certificate. So I will always say, go to your intentions. What are your true intentions of needing this marriage? Because half the time, the fucking marriage doesn't even include him. You don't give a shit about him picking flowers or wanting to know about the dress. All you want is that fucking wedding. You want to get dressed up in your fucking dress. You want to have your bridesmaids. It's all about you at the end of the day. Ego. It's
And that's
all about you. So I think
so.
people need to really sit and ask, what am I truly wanting to push this marriage? Again, like I said, I don't care if I ever get married. Me and a person can be together and just be together without the pressure of if we ever fucking get married. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's not a maker or breaker for me in this life. I feel there's more shit in life to be worried about than a certificate. Because what does
Mhm.
that mean? What does the marriage really solidify? Does it make your marriage better? Does it make your relationship better? No. You know how many people get cheated on and they have
Mhm.
certificates?
I think that's, too, Lily, is sometimes people will get engaged, right? And um, I don't want to say that's sometimes the way to make a person shut up about it. You know what I mean? Like they give you a ring,
Yeah.
they propose, but some
Right.
people still have no intention of ever getting married. Or they
Nope.
get engaged and a year goes by, 2 years go by, and they're like, they don't feel the same way.
Right.
And that's why I say, so you change so much between your 20s and your mid 30s. Like even your early 30s, you're still nowhere near the person you are once you hit 35, 36,
Right.
37. Um, so I feel like sometimes they do put a ring on it just to kind of satisfy you.
Right.
And they don't actually have this intention on walking down the aisle because it doesn't mean that much to them. And
Right.
so some women feel like, okay, you put the ring on it. Now we're supposed to set a date and we're supposed to do this and we're supposed to do that.
Right.
And then when the other person doesn't meet those expectations or get as excited as you or um, go
Right.
look at cakes and dresses and tuxes,
Right.
you feel like they're not doing their part, right? And so then
Right.
it's like, okay, well, did you really want to be here? But the thing is, it's like we were saying in the beginning, people don't have these conversations. They're so
Yeah.
busy having the butterflies and the honeymoon part, and everything is so great. And this is the person I want to be with forever. And this is my twin. This is my soulmate. This is my, that nobody has
Right.
conversations about what you want. Even kids. People will sit there and end up married, and this person don't even want kids.
Never talked about it.
And
Never
you
had a
want a
conversation.
whole tribe, you
They're like,
know?
I want 10 kids. The other person's like, I was thinking like one, like not 10. You know what? I can tell you guys, I'm so glad that me and my daughter's father never got married. We talked about it all the time. I was his fiance. I was with him 8 years of my life. I was a kid though, for most of it. I got with him when I was 13, but
Mhm.
we talked about marriage all the time. We talked about this big family. And he cheated on me a lot of times. Okay. Every so often here we were going down another path of being cheated on. And I was very loyal through that relationship. And I can tell you that me always trying to press it was like my ego saying, I won. I got him. I won. Fuck y'all bitches. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be very honest. That was all ego. I'm very glad that we didn't, because we would have been divorced. It wouldn't
Mhm.
have lasted, and it didn't. Because soon as I got into like my 20s, I was like, I'm over this shit. I'm over this, and I'm not gonna sit with someone just because we had a kid and be happily ever unhappily ever after.
Mhm.
All because we had this child together, and all because this is what people do. And I just chose not to be my mom. I chose not to
Yeah.
repeat the cycle, and I chose to say, no, I'd rather be single. So I'm very happy that we didn't get married. I am. I truly am, because that experience was all, it would have been all just to make myself feel better at the end of
Yeah.
the day, even though every so often he was going to cheat anyway, with or without this fucking paperwork, he was going to cheat on me.
Well, that's
So what was that really going to do for me?
like my first kid's dad always said he wanted to be married, but he always said when he turned 30, right? Everything was about when he turned 30. Mind you, we had been together since I was 17. So um, my thing is how do you put, for me, I didn't really believe it because how do you put an age limit on it, right? It's like I'm gonna cheat
Right.
until I'm 30, and then on my
Right.
30th birthday, all of that's out the
I'm done.
window, and I just want to be with you, right? So you got to wait till I'm 30. I'm 30. I'm 30, and that was just like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like,
Well, I think a lot
you
of people
can't
used
just
to
say
do
like
that,
I'm
like,
30. I'm going to be absolutely ready.
right.
And then the twins' dad actually proposed, but he only proposed after he got caught cheating, and I was really done with the relationship.
Right.
Like
Right.
we completely split up. And then one day he showed up to babysit the kids and had a ring. And I was like, dude, get away from
Yeah.
me.
My
Like,
daughter's father
no,
did the same, where then it was
no,
when I was done and ready to go, then it was just like, let's go get married. And it was just like, yeah, no,
no.
I'm good. No, I don't want to marry you now.
Mm-hmm. So
Now
that,
you want to take me to the next level because I'm done with your house. And I do feel like a lot of people do that when it's the last resort, or they think they're going to lose their person. That's when it's like, oh, let's take it to
mm-hmm.
the next level. And then now it is harder to get out of a relationship when you're married, because now there's all these other factors into it. And I will tell you, I watched my best friend go through where the type of man she had, at the end of the day, she would have got sued for alimony. She would have been the one having to pay alimony and shit like that, because of the nature of their lifestyle. And it is rough when you have to start consider that stuff. So, biggest thing at the end of the day when we're talking about this, polyamory. So you guys look it up. It's very different. It's not polygamy. It's not we're not talking about open. Well, for me, I feel like it's an open relationship. um at the end of the day, I do feel like you have to ask yourself, what do you truly want? And your intentions behind marriage, period. What I come to find, even myself, I could reflect on myself. Marriage was a very egotistical or ego driven kind of thing for women to feel better about their relationships and feel like you've conquered and now you have this man.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, or woman, man or woman, we don't want to just say men, right? I will tell you to sit back and really ask yourself your reasons of why you need to get married and why you want to get married, and actually outline that, and what does that look like. Um, I'm not saying that companionship or relationships are bad, and I'm not saying that. I think a lot of people down everyone for wanting a relationship, and I don't think wanting a relationship is bad at all. I don't feel like wanting a companion is bad at all. I've been single for a very long time. I get it. But I do feel like you got to ask yourself your intentions of
Mm-hmm.
why. There's a lot of the time when I was single and I would want someone in this moment. But when it came to reality, I didn't want someone for the long term. In this moment, feeling a little lonely, want some attention, but then at the end of the day, I really didn't want anyone. So you got to kind of ask yourself your intentions behind everything that you do, especially when it comes to relationships. And open relationships or polyamorous relationship, I feel like that's very hard to stay in, and to it. I just feel like it opens the door for a lot of unnecessary psychologically,
I would
no
like
matter
to
what you tell
know.
yourself, I think it's a little hard.
I would like to know like the kind of rules people set. So it would be kind of cool to find somebody who was in
Right,
that relationship because I would feel like you would have to have
right,
rules and boundaries in order to make
right,
that
right.
function?
I'm pretty sure there are rules. Well, because I read it. Some of it is rules, and they make their rules of what you can't do, can and cannot do. I think like one chick was saying something about like they couldn't kiss the other person because kissing is very intimate, right?
Mhm.
But same people do when they're swinging and shit. Like some rules, like you can't kiss a person, but you can have sex with them. I feel like we use all these terms, but all of it is pretty much the same shit: swinging, open relationship, and I think we just now it's polyamorous. But basically it's open relationship. I don't know. And no judgment. I'm not saying it's a bad or good thing. I know personally I wouldn't do it just because of the way I am and the way I feel. I would want that one-on-one connection, that one-on-one relationship. I would not want to share my person with someone else. I know
Mhm.
at the end of the day that would not be something that I would want to do for a long-term basis. I just wouldn't, And I think you have to understand that about yourself. And I think you need to be realistic with yourself because if you're not, and in the moment it sounds good, in the moment we're going to do this, but in the long term, could you truly, truly be in this relationship and be happy with your person with someone else? I think that's kind of what you have to ask yourself. Yeah, see many boundaries and rules. I'm sure there has to be, because you wouldn't be able to sustain it if people are just doing whatever. But I do feel like I mean, to me it's like dating. You're still dating. I don't know. When we get whoever who is polyamorous on the show, we could ask them and talk to them and see what does it look like, and then maybe we'll get a little bit more open. But I will tell you, Willow's reasoning was basically because people in marriages cheat anyway, and it basically leaves you open to find what you're missing in other people. And if those are your reasonings, I feel like you need to check within because I feel like you're missing something within you. And I think you need to find that first before adding a bunch of people into your life and adding those relationships into your life. I don't know if you have any last words for that.
I mean, I feel like people do it, do what you do. I just feel like everyone is so, again, with these labels, it's like everybody has to put a label or a connotation on everything. And, you know, if it's just a reason to be okay with the cheating or to try and make your husband, girlfriend, whatever, not stray in that way, I feel like you should really rethink why you're doing it.
Right.
Because I do feel like there can be benefits, there can be that income, there can be that stability, help with childcare, help with children, help with home, whatever. But if you're doing it for reasons that aren't your own and they're to stop certain things or to please somebody else, I think you just need to rethink why you're choosing to do that.
Right. Right. Yep, Shondell, I'm very selfish when it comes to relationships.